You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters. It's November the 14th, 2022, and we are live here from the Legacy420.com news desk here at paceradio.net. Good morning, Rev Kelly. How are we doing today?
Good morning. It's Monday.
Yes,
Happy
and
Monday.
from here, it's a sunny Monday as well.
Sunny Monday. Sunny but cold.
Cold. Yeah, it's a little chilly out there. I have to agree. The dog
down.
bowl was frozen, full of no water. It was ice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It started. We're starting into that deep winter thaw now, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I know that I have family that's north of me. They got snow.
We had some flurries here yesterday. So
I heard about ours. They weren't very long. They were just pretty brief.
Yeah.
But before we get into the news, we should mention that the tonight you and I are joining together to do a special broadcast here on the Pace Radio Network, KGL. It's going to be on 420 radio. It's actually going to be broadcasted to, I believe, 15 different locations, and that's our roundtable.
It's the special Reefer Report from the Reefer Reporters on a Monday night. We come to you in the Monday morning. We come to you in the Monday night.
Yes.
Reefer Reporters all day long. So yeah, it's a really important conversation. I'm really excited for it. I wonder, we have so many like legacy, legendary cannabis advocates. What do you think is going to come out of this tonight? What kind of conversation do you think is going to come?
It's going to get, I think it's going to get pretty in depth. There's going to be, a lot of past presidents discussed about how things were done, how things would have to be done going forward.
Yeah.
It's some of our past court cases have determined things, and I'm sure all that will be brought up in our discussion.
Right.
The effect that it could have on patients, all that, of course.
Yeah.
Will be there.
Yeah. It's going to be so good. 2 hours.
2 hours. Yes. 2 hours of nonstop. No commercials.
Nope. We're just going to talk.
Commercial free.
120 minutes.
We got to hear from the people.
That's right. We are looking forward to it.
So do I.
7 p.m. Eastern.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right here on the Pace Radio Networks.
Yep.
Be on Facebook locations. It's going to be on Twitter.
LinkedIn,
on YouTube. It's going to be on in the smart TVs on things like Roku and Apple Fire and Comcast and so on and so forth.
We're going to be everywhere.
Everywhere. Lots of opportunities and places to be able to see it. That's for sure.
That's right.
Yeah. So what do you say? Time to get on with the news?
Oh yes. Let's get
All right. First up, here we go. Headline from MJ Biz Daily says First Nations fight systematic exclusion in Canadian cannabis industry.
Some Indigenous leaders believe they've been largely excluded from Canada's multi-billion-dollar legal cannabis retail and cultivation industry. That's the message that Indigenous leaders delivered last month at a Senate committee studying the implementation of the country's federal cannabis law.
At the Senate hearings held by the Committee on Indigenous Peoples, some Indigenous leaders called for the federal and provincial governments to engage in meaningful dialogue over a carve out within the federal and provincial laws, allowing them to regulate cannabis in accordance with their own principles. Darcy Gray, chief of Litsuka Mikwak First Nation, said economic opportunities arising from cannabis legalization didn't seem to be part of the conversations being had between the federal government and First Nations.
He says that essentially we seem to be an afterthought and something to be dealt with once things were set up and the market secured by others. So we recognize familiar patterns of systemic exclusion. Ooh.
Yeah. Fully legal cannabis retail and cultivation remains largely absent from Canada's Indigenous communities. And on the production side, only 6 of more than 600 Canadian producers licensed by both Health Canada and the Canadian Revenue Agency are located on a reserve, implying the federal government has sanctioned directly or indirectly very little legal cannabis production in First Nation communities.
Right. It's like they exist. They know that they're existing and they're thriving in an enterprise in some nations, but we're just not even going to talk to them or regard them or have any interest or any discussion.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
that is exactly what they happen. They are the indigenous people of our country. This is their sovereign cannabis. This is our sovereign cannabis. And it hasn't even been talked to or about. So bravo
Exactly.
to them coming forward
Yes,
right
right.
now. Provinces that are responsible for retail regulation haven't done much better. The provinces have sanctioned only a handful of stores in Indigenous communities across the country.
Yeah, the hearings, Health Canada said it operates Indigenous Navigator Service to assist the Indigenous community's participation in the production and manufacturing of cannabis. But Health Canada says that there were 47 Indigenous affiliated or owned commercial producer businesses.
Right.
47.
Right. Now, the regulator allows Indigenous affiliated applicants to start the license review process of their application before their facility is built, whereas non-Indigenous companies need to complete their facility before Health Canada review can begin.
Yeah, since 2016, they say Health Canada officials have participated in approximately 290 engagement sessions to discuss cannabis legalization and regulation, which has informed how Health Canada administers the Cannabis Act, according to the agency representative.
Right. Saying since 2019, Health Canada has had discussions with an increasing number of interested First Nations, developing their own cannabis control measures to explore mutually beneficial cannabis arrangements within the existing framework of the Cannabis Act. Wow. So they're talking about maybe possibly including them somehow, but I hope that doesn't mean controlling. And I certainly hope that doesn't mean taxing.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it
No
one
way.
bit. That's what it means. That's what they're trying to do. You know, let's see what else it says here. They talk about it being an economic benefit. Gray says that 6 years later, we're still on the outside looking in on many aspects, despite putting in place many pieces to ensure our participation in the industry. He also suggests Indigenous communities are missing out on public health benefits from regulating cannabis production and sales on the reserves.
Okay, systematic barriers remain in place. Our best efforts and those of other First Nations seem to be falling on deaf ears, especially when it comes to working with the province of Quebec.
Ooh.
And they're having a hard time in British Columbia too, where they were sued.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The chief there says the systematic exclusion from legal sectors sends the message that Indigenous health is of lesser importance. Meanwhile, the industry as constructed seems to be floundering and asking for relief in some way, asking for reduced regulations and tax breaks and greater advantages. Meanwhile, we're still pushing for inclusion and a better way forward.
Where is it, Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, that Jack Layton is on a case out there to do with sovereign cannabis?
Jack Lloyd.
Jack Lloyd.
Yeah. The other Jack's dead.
But I know. Sorry about that. Rest in peace. Out east, they're fighting for it. They're actually fighting back. So it's not going to go quietly here. This is something that is very, very important that it's coming up and a conversation, because there is a question on the Cannabis Act review where what place does Indigenous sovereign cannabis have? Or should we have more conversations about it? So this is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that's Tim Barnhart. He's from the Indigenous community. That's maybe a question for him.
I think so. Maybe we'll speak to him about that tonight.
All righty. Well, from there, we'll move on to our next story. And this one talks about the legal system. And this one comes from us from StratCan. And the headline on it says, that consumer perception of the legal market improving still has way to go.
In the first 3 years of legalization, Canadian cannabis consumers have had increasingly positive views of legal cannabis products when compared to illegal cannabis products regarding quality, convenience, safety, and price.
Despite this increasing positive outlook, nearly half of respondents captured in the study still reported that legal cannabis was more expensive than illegal cannabis, while 1/5 reported there was no difference, and only 1 in 10 reported legal cannabis was less expensive than its illicit counterpart.
Okay. Well,
Well,
those
they're
who
complaining about not making money now. Boy, they still got a long ways to go down in
a
pricing.
long way, yeah. Those who were more likely to consume daily or almost daily were more likely to have negative perceptions of the legal market compared to the illegal market when it came to factors like price, quality, and convenience.
This view also reflects the declining prices documented in the legal market, especially with the introduction of large volume formats, like 14, 28, and 30-gram flower offerings, as well as decreasing prices on products like extracts, vape pens, and edibles.
That's true. They have come down. Data for the study were analyzed from more than 15,000 Canadian respondents to the International Cannabis Policy Study who had consumed cannabis in the past year and were of the legal age of access. The survey was conducted in 2019 to 2021 and completed online.
Over time, data show that respondents tended to show an increase in consumer perception that legal cannabis is safer and easier to buy and of higher quality, although often more expensive than the black market.
Breaking down responses by demographics such as age, gender, and location, the survey also shows how these shifts affect each group. For example, respondents in Quebec were more likely to report that they felt legal cannabis was of higher quality or no difference versus lower quality compared to all other provinces except Prince Edward Island.
Those in Nova Scotia and British Columbia were the least likely to say legal cannabis was of higher quality, as well as the least likely to say it was less expensive. Those in Ontario and Nova Scotia were the least likely to say purchasing legal cannabis was more convenient.
Well, that's because there's a lot more stores. Probably more stores than there are the guys
now, as far as
back alley.
yeah. Respondents in Quebec were also more likely to report that legal cannabis was less expensive than legal cannabis when compared to those in BC, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia, versus more expensive or reversed. They said this matches data showing Quebec with some of the lowest legal cannabis prices in Canada.
Ooh, okay.
When your edibles have only got 4 kinds.
Yeah. Exactly. Cannabis consumers said that that legal cannabis was increasingly more convenient to buy than illegal cannabis, and that tended to fluctuate by province, of course, given the significant difference each jurisdiction has in regard to stores per capita, as well as the size of the illicit market.
Yeah.
So,
respondents in BC and Ontario were the least likely to report legal cannabis was more convenient to buy, likely due to both a robust black market in both those provinces.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like we just said, there's lots more of it here in Ontario and BC.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but as far as the consumers, I've actually talked to some people who I know who had issues with the legal market
Yeah.
that have turned around and said to me that, hey, it's not too bad there. It's actually pretty much better than what I'll be getting from so and so.
It's getting better. And when someone comes to me and they want to Hello?
Hello? I'm still here.
Oh.
Hello?
Are we back?
Uh-oh. Yeah, I didn't even know I left.
Okay, did I leave?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, I think we have a little bit of a delay. That's okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I'm frozen or if Al's frozen.
Frozen.
One of us
Froze.
is.
Oh.
It might be me.
I, there.
Okay. So
Oh.
it could be
We
Al.
are
It could be me. We are
obviously having
live.
technical problems. We are live. I'm here. Can you hear me now? I'm back.
I can hear you. Were you in a tunnel, a wormhole in outer space?
I don't know. All of a sudden, some gremlin come along and stole me,
It's a gremlin. We must move on
and
to
I
the next.
escaped. All
I'm so
right.
glad.
Yeah. All right. We'll move
Ooh,
on to the next story.
yeah, yeah.
All right. According to Political, the black market strangled California's legal cannabis industry. Now it's coming for New York.
Still talking about that black market. Inside a Brooklyn smoke shop, past rows of bongs and other paraphernalia, a display case is piled high with legal hemp and CBD, but a store employee has some advice.
That's not the stuff you want, he confides to a reporter who had been wordlessly eyeing the display. Unprompted, the
Go.
worker reaches behind the counter, but not before idly musing, "You look like a cop," and produces a plastic shopping bag containing what he says are genuine cannabis gummies imported from California.
Ooh, I can sell you mushrooms too, he adds. It's become a familiar scene in New York City. The state legalized adult use cannabis more than a year ago, but it is yet to issue a single dispensary license. The result has been a weed free for all. Cannabis seems to be for sale everywhere: head shops, bodegas, even from folding tables on street corners. Some dealers brazenly sell in public and may boast their products were grown in California. It sounds a little
Le-
bit like here, but I don't ever think I ever saw people on tables and chairs on sidewalks.
yeah, why not? Why not? Folding tables on the corner. Come on, Toronto, let's do it.
Amazing.
Ah. Yes, the outcome was not unlike what happened when California legalized cannabis. 6 years later, illegal sellers and growers continue to thrive. Despite those struggles, New York leaders decided to take a giant approach or a general approach with anyone selling without a license. Now, an industry expected to generate more than 20,000 new jobs and a $4.2 billion market in 2027 could stumble on a rival as it competes with the booming black market.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be bigger than anything we've ever seen in cannabis. New York will.
Mhm.
Already, some legitimate companies that were planning major investments are heading for the hills, saying everybody seems to be selling cannabis. And until there's an enforcement, there's really no concern of penalty. That comes from Owen Martinetti of Cannabis Association of New York, who is personally calling for stronger civil enforcement. If there's already competition and it's not enforced, it kind of begs the question: are the regulated stores really set up for success?
Mm. When New York became the 15th state to legalize cannabis last year, lawmakers saw an opportunity to reverse past wrongs. They expunged certain cannabis related criminal records and offered priority on cannabis business licenses to justice involved people with prior cannabis convictions.
Now, against that backdrop, lawmakers hesitated to throw the book at those now caught selling cannabis without a license and gave hazy enforcement instructions to the state's Office of Cannabis Management. Just leave them alone for now.
Yeah. Liz Kruger, sponsor of the bill, says that since we didn't think this was going to happen, we didn't put anything in the bill that gave
Yeah.
OCM and the police departments very clear-cut rules of the road to close them down. Kruger believes police already have the right to seize illegal products and shutter offending shops. New York Mayor Eric Adams, a fellow Democrat, didn't appear to share that viewpoint, however.
There's infused dining happening in restaurants. Like everything is happening there. It's just like a free
Yeah,
for
even
all.
catering vehicles.
It's amazing. Kruger believes police already have the right to seize illegal products and shutter the offending shops. The New York Mayor Eric Adams, who is a fellow Democrat, didn't appear to share the viewpoint, however. There he is.
Yeah. He says a police officer can't just walk in and conduct an apprehension or arrest or confiscate the item. There is a process. This is what he was saying last month. He's a retired police captain and urged New Yorkers to notify police about illegal shops and said he plans to lobby the state legislature in January for greater clarity.
All right. So there's a City Hall spokesperson, Kayla Mamlak, said that Adams has clearly articulated that illegal businesses will not be tolerated. When are they going to be legal, Al? It's I think it's November. Is it December that they're going to be legal next month?
Let's just say not soon enough.
Not soon. I thought it was by the end of this year. That's when everything is going to start, by the end of 2022.
Yeah, I was thinking it was July of this coming year. But
of this coming year?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, obviously.
Because what will happen is that, remember Project Claudia happened maybe like 3 months before legalization. So I bet we're going to start seeing this crackdown just about maybe 3 months before the full legalization comes into effect into New York. Because they can't just have guys on the street, with their like fold out tables when like Cookies is up here.
Why not?
Come on.
They can still ask for ID.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay. I guess we're done that story.
A great story.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with it. It'll be good to watch as New York becomes legal, because it will be the biggest market. It'll be bigger than California ever was. It'll be bigger than all of Canada because of the per capita of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
It's going to be on billboards. We'll see it.
I don't think that any place could expect to go in and wipe out the existing market in a moment's notice. There's no way. It's too well established.
Yeah.
So, all right. On to our next story before we go to break.
Okay.
And this one says from the Fresh Toast, here are the big midterm wins and losses for cannabis legalization.
Oh, yeah. What happened there? The 2022 midterm elections were unique and historical for all sorts of reasons. Sure, there was the red wave that never came, but there was also ballot measures and victories that will change the trajectory of cannabis legalizations in several states. Yeah,
2 states, Missouri and Maryland, both voted to legalize recreational cannabis. Several others, Arkansas, North Dakota, and South Dakota, shot down the measures that would legalize recreational adult use cannabis in their state.
What? South Dakota?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one?
Yes, that's the one.
And remember we said it? We're like, nope, it'll be fine this time. I think we thought it would be fine. Nope.
Yeah.
They said no.
They shot it down. Maybe they just didn't like the proposal. Maybe they're for legalization, but they didn't like that proposal.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you guys. Maryland votes big. More than 65% of Maryland voters supported a ballot measure to legalize cannabis in the form of a constitutional amendment on Election Day. You might be wondering what this means exactly going forward. The constitutional amendment defines that recreational cannabis would not be legal until July 2023 for people 21 and over, subject to a requirement of the General Assembly pass legislation in the next session regarding distribution, regulation, and taxation of it. Okay.
Yeah. Missouri citizens voted 53% to 47% to legalize cannabis on Election Day. This decision is not only a victory for cannabis enthusiasts, but also for those who support criminal justice reform for nonviolent cannabis crimes.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's look and see what happened with North and South Dakota. They both voted down cannabis measures, Al.
Yes. That offered citizens the chance to legalize cannabis. Both ballot measures failed. In North Dakota, the measure failed by almost 10%, and in South Dakota, lost by a smaller margin, 50 basically 53% to 47% that said yes.
Wow. So
Yeah.
close, you guys. Oh, okay. And then Arkansas, there was high hope that Arkansas could be yet another red state to pass cannabis legislation.
Mm-hmm.
But Arkansas lost 57 to 43.
Yeah, they say in South Dakota, part of the problem might have been because it wasn't a presidential election, so the turnout was low. I
Come
can't
on.
understand. Yeah. There are several possibilities why in Arkansas the measure failed fairly considerably, from lower voter turnout to an imperfect bill. There are plenty of places to point the finger, but the bill also received loud and considerable opposition.
So they're saying again, voter turnout.
Yeah,
Voter
yeah,
turnout. So this was low then, I guess, for voter turnout for the
yeah.
state. Let's see. They cannabis advocates win to fight another day for legalization. They're John Fetterman flipped a Senate seat in Pennsylvania where recreational cannabis is still illegal and cannabis is still criminalized. But he's been outspoken as an advocate for cannabis legalization. So hopefully some change
Yeah, hopefully it
happen there.
makes a change there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be good, eh? If he got in, he got in there. Now he has to make that change.
Right. Okay.
And hopefully next time for North Dakota, that the better turnout, and they can get those people out there. So
North to Mexico. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, break time.
Okay.
Time to medicate.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll be right back after our session. You're watching the Reefer Reporters. We're live here on paceradio.net and across our social media locations.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back for our medication session, and we're live here at paceradio.net, which is where you'll also find our past broadcasts. Well, Rev Kelly, we got 5 more stories to go, including our Mushie Moment. What do you say? Get at her?
You bet.
All righty. First up, from B&M Bloomberg, German cannabis firm Cantourage surges more than 130% on debut. Wow.
Ooh, exciting. German cannabis firm Cantourage jumped more than 130%, and that's first day of trading, making it one of the few and most successful IPOs this year in an otherwise anemic market.
Co-founder Florin Phil says that we are Cantourage and we love cannabis. He says this when ringing the bell on Friday morning, adding the firm is happy to say hi. Also, the firm's ticker symbol. So there you go.
Oh, cool. That's really cool. Prior to the listing, Cantourage sold 15% in new shares to family offices and other individuals investors, which were allowed to start trading for the first time on Friday. Chief Executive Philip Scheider told Bloomberg the rest of the stock is held by Cantourage's founders and early investors, including venture capital firm Think.Health Ventures.
Yep, Cantourage, which is currently focused on medical cannabis, is using the proceeds of the share sale to fund its expansion before the legalization starts in Germany. The government in Berlin last month approved a proposal to permit adults to purchase up to 30 grams of cannabis for recreational purposes or use, as the ruling coalition fulfills the promise to legalize cannabis. The step, which will likely become effective at some point next year, will allow controlled cultivation and distribution of cannabis as Europe's biggest economy aims to curb the black market for it.
Wow.
Well, let's hope they stay focused on the medical end. We've seen that change here in Canada.
I hope so. I hope so, because it's so important there. They're planning a special cannabis tax, and they're saying that the market potential is worth 4 billion euros to 7 billion euros for recreational cannabis. That's huge. 4 to 7 billion euros for recreational cannabis. That's what they're saying in a statement. And that's well above the European market for medical cannabis. They're saying that that's still poised to grow to 3 billion around the end of 2025. Hopefully, we can still see that flourish.
Yes, hopefully. Some of these companies come out, medicinal, and then they change, and it's so this one is that way. But like you said, the market.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. All righty. On to the next story. This one comes to us from Leafly. 10 weed faux pas to avoid in a social setting.
As with any,
shouldn't do, I guess.
That's right. Things you shouldn't do. As with any culture, weed culture has its customs too. Longtime weed lovers learn a lot of these customs from experience, trial and error, or from good friends. But here at Leafly, we wanted to ensure cannabis's newcomers were also prepared to sesh with the best of them. I love when they write articles like this.
While a huge part of being a stoner is what comes naturally, there are still a few things you want to avoid in social settings. In other words, you don't want to commit a weed faux pas. Use our list of these to prevent yourself from violating stoner code. By avoiding these missteps, you've got a great chance of getting invited back the next time the group gathers to spark something up.
Number 1 is bogarting. You got to puff, puff, and then pass. And it's words we live by for a reason.
It happens, and I gotta say I can be guilty of that. Well, it's more along the line of being, because I'm usually by myself anyways.
Yeah.
Like I'm out here in the country, it just becomes normal, right? And then I pass the roach to somebody and say sorry.
If it's only you don't pass it to anyone else.
I know. Well,
Puff, puff, it's me again.
Exactly. The
That's
next,
great. Torching the bowl. That's right. A few things elicit more side eye from a weed lover than torching a bowl. The idea of scorching beautiful greens to smithereens is enough to make a terpene lover scream. Big time.
yeah, when you're handed a freshly packed pipe, make sure you use the lighter gently along the side of the bowl so you're not obliterating all the green or preventing the next few people in line from taking a flavorful toke. Well,
Right?
yeah.
Be kind. Here's another one, refusing to match. Make sure that you've got your own bud. You're not just smoking somebody else's.
Yeah. But if you're doing it every single time, you're going to come off as a mooch.
That's what it
Yeah.
says.
I don't know about you, Kelly, but when I'm in a circle of people and someone smokes a joint and passes it around, I always light up a second joint and pass it around because of that.
Yeah.
And then you get that, oh no, I'm good. And I go, oh, fuck, I'm just trying to, return the favor, man.
Yeah, no, I'll always smoke that second one with you, Al.
Okay.
Oh, this is a good one. Seshing while sick. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that happens. But, people do that, but it's good to avoid it.
Big time. Just be careful, right? Right now,
Yeah.
especially. It's heading
Oh,
into
yeah, I know. If I was with a group of people, I'd watch who was sick and try to make sure I didn't share joints with them.
Yeah.
Number 5, never sharing the first hit. Sharing is caring in cannabis culture, and everybody, unless you are the mooch mentioned in number 3, deserves a fresh taste of flower every once in a while. Let someone else spark up that joint or start the rotation every once in a while. So I guess you would pass them a joint and they can light it up.
Yes, or the first bowl, the first hit off of the pipe or something, right? This is a good one. Failure to mind the cherry. From canoeing joints to ashing before you pass, the cherry is your responsibility once it's in your hands. This is a great article.
I'm going cherry. Okay, I understand. The heater. Okay. Keep an eye on how your joint, blunt, or bowl is burning. If you see things going awry, speak up or take action. Don't pass something along unable to use for the next person.
Passing a beet bowl. Yeah, you don't want that. That's not fair. If it's done, it's done. Knock it out. Fill it again.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Fill it up. Pass it on. Playing favorites. If you're in a group setting, don't go out of your way to always pass the bowl to one specific person. Cutting the line and messing up the rotation to pass your friend is not a good look. Uh-oh.
Don't do that. Look at number 9. Do you?
I know.
Number 9. You pocketing the lighter?
I was just telling Gail the other day that it's been a while since I've been around people, so I had to go buy some lighters. I'm down to the last one.
There you go. Or the conferences, they hand them out. How many times have we got lighters at expos and conferences, right?
Yeah. And number 10?
Go ahead.
Over smoking, you're welcome. Close-knit friend groups often have a make yourself at home policy with your crew, but always remember to show thanks to your host's hospitality and access to their cannabis. Never smoke their last nug without permission, and always tell them if you're rolling up with something out of their stash. Hey, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And you're welcome to, of course, but just let us know. Right? And don't smoke the last nug. I love that.
Yes. Don't smoke the last nug. Or tell them, hey, it's the last nug. What do you think?
Let's order more. From Uber Eats.
Our next. Yeah. Our next story. This one comes from Psychologically Today, and the headline on it says, "Cannabis may benefit the middle-aged brain."
Oh, okay.
There you go. We're always talking about the negative to the young brain. Now we're going to talk about the positive to middle-aged people.
Cannabis users are getting older. Studies suggest that cannabis use in older adults, particularly after retirement, has quadrupled. I've written previously about how cannabis affects human brains differentially across the lifespan. Most older users, primarily between 50 and 60 years old, report their most common reasons for turning to cannabis is for pain reduction due to illness or injury. Most patients report that cannabis has fewer unpleasant side effects than over-the-counter or prescription pain medications.
A recent study assessed the relationship between long-term medical cannabis use and cognitive function in a sample of middle-aged and older patients with chronic pain. The results suggest that the use of whole plant medical cannabis does not have a negative impact on cognition in older patients. It is critical to take notice that this study, as well as most other epidemiological studies, utilize the whole plant rather than specific extracts. The benefits from specific compounds of the plant remain to be fully defined. Indeed, the greatest benefits might only be realized from the aggregated actions of all the components of the plant. Exactly. We've been saying that for a long time.
One important consideration for the older user is that the dispensaries now offer products with increasing potencies. From 1995 until 2012, the concentration of THC in cannabis products tripled from 4 to 12% of THC, of course. Today, the level of THC often exceeds 20%. The developing or adolescent brain cannot tolerate such high doses, according to this article. Research has shown that the normal development of the brain is impaired and the consequences can last into adulthood. I don't know if I agree with that, Al.
Yeah. The apparently opposite effects of cannabis. Yeah, I've been smoking cannabis since I was 13. So yeah. The apparently opposite effects of cannabis on older versus younger brains may be meditated by age-related changes in the endocannabinoid system that includes a decrease in the number of cannabinoid receptors throughout the brain. The few human studies of the effect of cannabis on the brain in middle-aged or older adults found little or no negative effects on cognitive function. Longitudinal studies or longer studies that compare pre and post exposure performance related that cannabis was associated with improved cognitive task performance in middle-aged adults. My laboratory, this guy's laboratory, has demonstrated similar results using aged animals.
I think the age-related changes in the endocannabinoid system come from a lack of cannabis and cannabinoids throughout the whole life. I don't think that it decreases over time. I think that you use it, you stop using it, you lose it, kind of thing. But if you enter the cannabis into the system, the cannabinoids into the endocannabinoid system earlier in life, I think that you would see an increase in the system as opposed to the decrease. That's just
it'd be interesting to keep following up on something like this.
Absolutely. Should we talk about the study, or do you want to move on?
No, we'll just read a little bit more of this.
It's so brilliant. The current study by Watson examined the effects of cannabis use in older adults, 60 to 88 years old, with no history of alcohol or other substance use disorder, on resting state functional connectivity. Now, this measure is sensitive to aging and cognitive decline. Older adult cannabis users relative to non-users had significantly greater neuronal communication between the cerebellum and hippocampus. And the changes in these brain regions are important because they express very high levels of cannabinoid receptors, and both structures play important roles in cognition.
So does that answer your question? Because they say here older adult cannabis users relative to non-users.
I think that it can't answer the
they're
question.
saying that this was more active in the consumers, the consumers who have been doing it for years.
Right, and I think that right now we would see people in this age range, 60 to 88 years, very few of them will have been consuming cannabis from teens. Very few of the adults living right now will have, because it was still so stigmatized, and it was still so prohibited when they were teenagers. It was blasphemy to be doing it back then. So if you take older adults of that age range right now, some old hippies, Rastafarians, and you studied them, I believe that you would get a different brain functioning activity, certainly, than these people. That's what I think.
Yeah. Studies in laboratories reported improved memory, decreased brain inflation, and the increased hippocampal neurogenesis in old brains after the daily stimulation of cannabinoid receptors. Improved memory.
Yeah.
The potential benefits are important given the cerebellum and the hippocampus are highly vulnerable to effects of aging. The hippocampus is stable until around age 50, at which point it undergoes a rapid period of atrophy. It is a consistent finding in individuals with mild cognitive impairment, and these words I just can't pronounce, also decreases of normal aging, reduced resting, so on and so forth. And they say state functional cognitivity between the hippocampus and the cerebrum has been found in patients with Alzheimer's disease. So if long-time cannabis use can reverse that, is that maybe a possibility?
Bingo. The sooner that you can get the cannabinoids into those neurons, the better you have a chance of life to fight off Alzheimer's and anything that your brain would be depleting over time. If you fill up the receptors earlier on in life, the fare better that your brain will be later.
That's what I'm reading.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Yes, good to know. That's right. Another one of those studies that we can throw out at people and say, hey,
I love it.
You know, when you get older, cannabis actually improves your brain.
That's right.
All right. On to the next story. This one comes from the Growth Op. Smoking cannabis versus edibles. Which is better for the brain?
Of course, everyone who enjoys cannabis has their preferred method of consumption, from vaping to eating, drinking, and even good old-fashioned smoking.
That's right. Each way of consumption has a high risk, has a high that kicks in differently and comes with its own unique set of pluses and negatives. While most of the pros and cons associated with how a person consumes cannabis are minor, others are a bit more substantial.
In fact, the way in which cannabis is consumed can even affect how healthy or unhealthy the substance is for one's body, even the brain. After all the organs that interact with THC eventually lead to the brain in one way or another.
Yeah. So why is cannabis better? Why is smoking cannabis is better than worse than one's brain? You start off there, Kelly. I'm going to deal with my dog who keeps scratching at my door.
Absolutely. People prefer smoking instead of eating cannabis for many reasons, but one of the main ones is the speed in which the cannabis hits when smoking versus eating. As the Fresh Toast previously reported, smoking weed kicks in much faster than edibles. This not only allows a consumer to get high quicker, often the goal, but it prevents the user from consuming too much THC at once. It is much easier to control dosage and prevent overdosing, and which is great since overdoing it can have negative effects on the brain, including memory issues and paranoia.
Smoking cannabis, however, can do some real damage to the user's lungs, since cannabis can cause all sorts of lung issues over time. While these issues might seem bad enough to steer prospective smokers towards a different consumption method, there's also evidence that suggests poor lung health, they say.
Okay, well, according to the book, an overview and is that the wrong thing here? Oh, no. An overview and management of multiple chronic conditions. Lung disease and impaired lung function were associated with a greater risk of dementia and mild cognitive impairment through both Alzheimer's disease and cerebrovascular etiologies. So they're saying lung disease and cognitive function go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I've never heard
Yeah,
that
that's what it said.
before.
No, neither have I.
Interesting.
Neither have I. So edibles are smoke-free but carry their own baggage, they say. Perhaps the biggest and most obvious brain and health plus of eating one's cannabis is that there's no inhaled smoke. By ingesting it, the consumers remove any of the potential negative health effects that can be from smoking.
Right. Okay. Great news for the lungs. Consuming edibles comes with its own set of health risk factors that can mess with the consumer's brain. Why is that good news? Edibles or food and drink products infused with cannabis have some different risks than smoking cannabis, including a greater risk of poisoning. Oh my goodness.
Poisoning was possibly the over-consuming. The reason for this information notes is that because it can take up to 2 hours to kick in, and novice users may consume more and more edibles, resulting in potentially dangerous overconsumption. So there you go. Well, cannabis overdoses, also known as an acute cannabinoid overdose, are not a common symptom when consuming cannabis and reported to not be directly life-threatening.
Yeah.
They can have negative brain effects. Yeah, it's not life-threatening.
But
At least
and it's not long term. Let's say that too.
No.
The negative brain effects are the paranoia, of course,
Yeah.
and the unwell feeling, but they're not going to stay there. Like they're not going to affect you in the long term.
No. All righty. We're going to move on to our next story so we can get done on time. All right. And our next story, it happens to be I got to bring that up. We got to get there. Our Mushie Moment. And our Mushie Moment headline is, firstly, that says, come on. New study shows psilocybin can help with severe depression.
Wonderful. A large dose of psilocybin, the active ingredient in psychedelic mushrooms, was shown to help people suffering from a type of severe depression in a new study published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The study builds on previous research on psilocybin and depression, becoming the largest clinical trial of its kind to date, involving 233 participants from across Europe and North America.
Some people who experience depression try various treatments, including antidepressant medications, which are sometimes ineffective for those suffering from treatment-resistant depression. This severe form of depression is thought to affect over 100 million people worldwide.
Wow. For this study, researchers gave participants a single dose of either 25 milligram, 10 milligram, or 1 milligram of synthetic psilocybin while in the presence of trained professionals, and then took part in a follow-up therapy session. Participants who received the largest dose of 25 milligrams indicated that psilocybin significantly mitigated their depression symptoms compared to those who were receiving the 1 milligram dose. Now, the beneficial effects of the 25 milligram dose also set in more rapidly over the course of 12 weeks relative to the smaller doses doing that.
Right. However, adverse effects including headache, nausea, dizziness, and fatigue occurred in a majority of the group that received the high dose. Suicidal thoughts were seen in all dose groups, which is common with this type of depression, but did not worsen with any group. And don't forget, this is synthetic, right?
I know. This is the latest study in the health benefits of psychedelics. In 2018, the FDA granted breakthrough therapy status to Compass's synthetic psilocybin product called COMP360 after a smaller trial for treatment-resistant depression. And psilocybin has also been shown to help treat alcohol and drug addiction, as well as end-of-life anxiety for those with life-threatening cancer.
Many other psychedelics, including MDMA, LSD, ketamine, ayahuasca, and many other substances have been shown to treat a diverse set of conditions, including anxiety, depression, trauma, and substance addiction, and more, which is good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Whew.
Good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good article.
Yeah.
It's
Good
nice
article.
to read.
Yeah, it's we're seeing it more and more often. The psychedelic ends of things. It was sort of, I was talking to some people about it on the weekend, and it was just like in the past, things were looked differently. People were just out to get high, just like the word of cannabis. Now it's people are using it medicinally. So
that's right. That's right.
So what's up with KGL next?
We've got a really big nug swap coming up on the 10th. I think you're going to come. I hope you're going to come.
I have December it on my 10th. Calendar. I have it written down on my calendar from 2 to 7. 2 to 7.
Yeah, that's the market. The nug swap will be around 4:20. We've got some live music at night. It's going to be a really fun event. We're going to have a little consumption space outside with a fire bin or something. Some roasted chestnuts. Yeah.
Yeah, keep people warm.
Yeah. Sing some Christmas songs together.
Yes, exactly. Sounds good. I won't be singing. I'll just stand there. I have lots of practice of that.
Okay, deal.
All right. That's a Reefer report from the Legacy420.com news desk for November the 14th, 2022. And as we close the show, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, Legacy420.com, BMAHydroponics.com, and to the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. And don't forget, if you enjoyed the show, share with workers, whoever, co-workers, people, and so on and so forth. But don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.